Okay, today's little talk is invitation versus inclusion. All are in Adam, all are in Christ in the absolute sense. You can see this type of language in 1 Corinthians 15:22. Also in Romans 5:15 through 19. However, in a relative sense, not all are in Adam, not all are in Christ. Just like Paul once said in Romans, that not all Israel are Israel. Some things are relatively true, but not absolutely true, vice versa. To show you that loose language can confuse all of us, Jesus once said, "He that believeth in me will never die." One must ask, in what sense? Because there are many gravestones that say, "Here lies Fred or Martha who believed in Christ." So they're dead. The actual verse says, "He that believeth in me will not die for the eon," which would lead us down another road, but for now, let's talk about the relative versus the absolute. In the absolute sense, all are in Adam. In the relative sense, believers put to death this body of death and are not found in Adam, but found in Christ. So when we get to the relative sense, we ask, what exactly are we relating this to? To God's Aeonian purpose and life Aeonian. The eons are made in Christ. Christ is the first fruit. He's the firstborn. Christ is the firstborn of all creation. All things are made by Christ, including Adam. So Adam was made in Christ. Choose your preposition. By, for, in, through, because of, on, with. All things were made by, for, with, in, etc. Christ. In the relative sense, the Aeonian times, or during the Aeonian times, being in Christ is by special invitation only. The chosen get invited. The rest must wait till the end of the eons. The invited, the chosen, are not exactly going to live it up during the eons. It's mostly like a work party with plenty of fun and rewards and a fantastic potluck supper involved. But Life Aeonian may have some enticing elements to it, but there's a work party nonetheless. Why? Because the eons are all about God's creative work. The eons and creation itself have begun, but it's a mistake to think that it's all finished now. God's creative work, which includes God's redemptive work, an extension of creation, won't be done until the eons come to an end. During the eons, there is more to be done, this and that. But Christ's work on the cross is the main story of the eon, the main story the eons have to tell. All blessings for all creation will find its source in Christ's cross. All are in Christ in absolute sense. Even Adam was made by, and through Christ. Relatively speaking, concerning Aeonian life, believers are found in Christ, and only believers receive the blessing of Aeonian life. But the Creator of all will not be denied all. Aeonian life gives way to life for all. When the eons end and death itself ends, you see, death, the wages of sin, disappears. When then comes the end, 1 Corinthians 15:20 through 28. The relative gives way to the absolute. For even as in Adam, so also in Christ, our favorite universal equation. The invitation is not for all, but the inclusion is. The invitation is to roll up your sleeves and get to work. The eons unfold a great patchwork of stories. More than a few reveal Christ's work and love for both the Father and for his creation. We and the faithful Israel must rule during the eons, but rule ends, including Christ's rule, when the job is done, and God is obviously all in all.